Hello, everybody. I am Zenith Rule, and once again, it is time for the season finale of the Disney debate. We have had a very interesting year, not a very good year in some aspects, but Disney debate as a whole has resurfaced, and that is a good thing in my mind. Uh, to wish you guys a Merry Christmas, this year we are talking about a Christmas Disney classic. And you guys have all seen it, you've all heard of it. It is time to talk about one of the biggest Disney films. But before we get into that, I am joined once again by Cat Mac and Y2 Staller. So, Cat, how's it going?
Woo, I'm doing good. And I'm a ghost. But not really. No,
And
I am so fucking excited. I'm so fucking excited. But go ahead, introduce Eric before I tell you why I'm excited.
And Eric, how are you doing today?
I feel very jolly. Very jolly indeed.
Yeah, that's
And,
nice, Eric. Anyway.
If you haven't guessed already, today we are talking about The Nightmare Before Christmas. Certainly very, very far down the Disney timeline. We're only still in the fifth. No, yeah,
We're in
only
the
still
50s.
we're only in the 50s at this point. But we figured, in honor of Christmas, to do something more Christmas related. And what is more quintessentially Christmas in the Disney timeline than The Nightmare Before Christmas?
Bitch, I think you mean Halloween. Screw Christmas. Halloween is the superior holiday, and this is a Halloween film, as I will argue you to death, and so will other people.
I believe it is both, because
It's Halloween!
it's both.
I think it's
Fine.
both.
Fine. Be a jerk.
But yes, The Nightmare Before Christmas is a film that pretty much everyone has grown up with. It was a risk. It was a film that I'm surprised Disney even allowed, because the darkest they'd gone for a very, very long time. I think the darkest film in their timeline was possibly Hunchback of Notre Dame. But this goes places that Disney doesn't usually go. And if you listen to a lot of the songs, Disney is not pulling their punches. They allowed Tim Burton to just go all out with this film, and it's creepy, it's kooky, it's altogether ooky and spooky.
Wrong
but
show.
It's also
Da-da-da-da.
but it's also Christmas. It is very obviously Christmassy, and has a lot of the spirit of Christmas in it. But before we really delve into the meat of the story and what it is, let's go to each of you guys and talk about what this film means to you from your childhoods. Kat, let's start off with you. What is your experience with this film?
Well, I guess my opinion on the greatest movie ever is it's the greatest movie ever. No. It is definitely one of my favorite movies of all time. I saw this not in theaters, but still when I was pretty young. Like, I was part of the group that discovered it on VHS, and it like changed my whole fucking world. Cause I was never really a girly girl. I was more tomboyish and stuff. And then when I saw Nightmare, like the style, the gothic look of it, and everything just spoke to me, and it just like sort of changed like how I sort of like dressed and acted, and I got all into the macabre and all that other dark spooky shit that most parents fear their children will like turn into if like they listen to rock music and that's type of jazz. But no, I wasn't a bad kid in that regard. But yeah, Nightmare for me was it was like I watched it every year. I'd watch it even during the summertime. I just loved it so damn much. And I will acknowledge it is not a perfect film. I realized that the older I got and the more I watched it, but it just like shaped so much of like my style and my taste and everything. I love this movie to death, and not just for its visuals, but also for its music and the characters, and just the fact that this is like for me the quintessential Halloween movie. And I could go on and on, but I will let you guys talk.
Now, Eric, what is your experience with the ultimate Halloween / Christmas film, The Nightmare Before Christmas?
For me, it's definitely one of those movies where I think I watch it at least twice a year because it is both a Halloween and a Christmas movie, and I acknowledge that. For me, it was more of how I kind of like because this was really the start with Disney with a lot with especially just with stop motion animation in general as far as like feature films go, because before stop motion animation was just limited to really from what I saw with TV, like anything that I saw on like Sesame Street or even Gumby for that matter. It was very limited. But when I saw Nightmare Before Christmas, it was like a full length stop motion animation movie, which of course would lead into other stuff like James and the Giant Peach and so on and so forth. But for me, it reminded me of when my sister, my older sister, who was into, she was into like a little bit of like horror stuff and monsters and stuff. She had the Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark book series. There was like 3 of them. She was into that, and I remember she had a book called The Very Scary Dictionary, which is like this illustrated book, and it was like different monsters from like different folklore and stuff like that. It was really cool. So it just kind of meshed everything. It was just kind of meshed everything together. And I mean, I always liked the visuals. I always liked the music because I'm a sucker for musicals.
Hell yeah.
Especially later on when we get to the Disney's second golden age of the late 80s and early 90s with all those musicals. But
Danny Elfman, bitches, Danny Elfman.
And Alan Menken, but we'll get to that. So it was so to me, I just like the charm of the film. And that's the one thing that I've always like. Yeah, yes, it does have some of its flaws, but I still find it charming, even with its macabre types art style.
For me, I don't really remember when I first saw this film. I believe it was when I was in high school that I first saw it. But it stuck with me through many years. My friends would all sing the songs, and we'd listen to the Marilyn Manson remix of This Is Halloween, and
awesome.
Korn's, which is awesome, and Korn's remix of Kidnap the Santa Claus. And it's something that's always really stuck with me, the style, the look and feel of it. When I was a teenager, I was pretty much in the goth scene. I wore trip pants and stuff like that, so this was right up my alley. And the more and more I see this film, just the more it is visually inspiring, especially for filmmakers and video producers like us, where you see what it took to make them. There's been Facebook posts recently about all the different heads and facial animations that went into the stop motion of just Jack Skellington in general. And it's something that, this was a vision. This was something that people really, really were passionate about. And for Disney to just let them do whatever they wanted is so different, especially in that time period.
Well, keep in mind that this was originally produced by Touchstone. Now, Touchstone Pictures no longer exists, but Touchstone came out of like the late 80s, because back in the 80s, when we get to the 80s films, Disney was trying to attract more adult audiences. So they were trying to go with more adult-oriented films. And as a result, they created a separate studio called Touchstone Pictures, and because what the idea with Touchstone was to attract a more adult audience, something a little bit more for older audiences. That's why Nightmare Before Christmas was able to go under that banner because of its themes and its tonality, and they were able to get that's how Disney was able to get away with it because it's a subsidiary. A lot of Disney stuff, like Disney owns a lot of stuff, but they're not necessarily directly involved with every little thing that they do. They trust the people that run the stuff and just to have them just do what they want to do.
That is very true. So let's dive a little bit into this story. I think by now most of us know the story of The Night Before Christmas. The original book is a classic children's book, and it's basically the telling of how this one family, they're pretty much sleeping, and Santa Claus comes and gives gifts. It's a classic children's book. And this is a very different take on it. It's not from the perspective of the families. It's not from the perspective of Santa Claus. It's from the perspective of someone in Halloween Town who wants to take what they see of Christmas and bring it into their own. There's this person named Jack Skellington. He is the Pumpkin King, the king of Halloween Town, the king of scares, and he sees Christmas Town, and he learns about Christmas, and he wants to take over the holiday and become Santa Claus because he's pretty much, he's getting tired of being the Pumpkin King day in, day out. He's very, very good at what he does, but he's grown tired of everything just being the same. And so when he sees something completely new and original, he's just like, let me try that. Let me try something new. He doesn't realize that what he's doing is wrong, but I think a lot of us can relate to Jack in many different ways, especially people who produce videos and are forced to produce the same type of videos for a very long time. It's a form of burnout where you want to try something new, and everyone around you is afraid that what you're doing is the wrong thing. And I think that's a very relatable, I think it's a very relatable message for many of us in the video community.
Yeah, I agree. Well, artists in general, when you think about it, because you know how sometimes certain artists they get that one big thing that becomes insanely popular, and then everyone kind of holds them to that standard, and anytime they deviate from the norm, like everyone loses their shit. So I could definitely relate to that. It's part of why I liked Jack when I was younger, is because I was always doing the same old stuff, like a daily routine, and I always wanted to go out and just do something completely opposite, completely different. I never had the nerve to do so, but it is cool just like seeing Jack, basically have like the skeletal balls, if you will, to actually like turn get his entire town to basically change their identity and do something that is completely opposite of their nature. Like, granted, he's still a naive, stupid bastard, but he definitely has some guts being like trying to take on Christmas, especially with like a month before the holiday starts.
Yeah, they basically throw everything together, and it's the day after Halloween or so when he finds out about Christmas Town. So if you think about it, he does it in probably less than a month, and it is very invigorating when they're all getting together and making Christmas, and you can see the creative process. But it also doesn't side too much with Jack at the same time. It warns of getting too caught up in the moment that you lose sight of what is important, and you lose sight of your limits, because there are some things that you may not understand about what you're trying to do. And so it's good to experiment and try new things, but the movie also warns, if you do not take precautions about going too far, things can literally blow up in your face.
Yeah, like that is one thing that is a bit of a flaw with the movie. It's one of those appreciate what you have type things. And granted, what he has is awesome. Because honestly, if I were in his place, I would love to, you know, do nothing but plan Halloween every year. But yeah, it ultimately is one of those like sort of predictable morals, you know, because he does like his whole thing with Sally. He completely ignores her up until she saves his dumb ass from making it like a huge mistake, and then he's like, "Oh, I had someone wonderful all along, and I have my town which loves me and does whatever I say, even if it's stupid and crazy. I should focus on them instead of trying to take over another holiday." Like I said, it's a simple moral, predictable one, but you know, it's serviceable for what the film's doing. It's actually kind of funny when you think about it. How Nightmare Before Christmas is kind of the inverse of the Grinch Who Stole Christmas. Like instead of a nasty old bastard pretending to be Santa and breaking into people's houses to steal their presents, you have like this stupid bastard who is breaking into people's houses to give them horrible gifts.
One of my friends on Twitter saw it for the first time this year, and they basically like raised a question: is this the best or the worst Santa ever created? And I'm just like, it's probably the best, because I mean, what other Santa will give you a shrunken head for Christmas? That's pretty awesome.
Think of all the voodoo you can do now.
I think for me, what works about this moral, and yes, it does have kind of at the end a moral of, you have what you have and you can be happy with it. But I really like the line that he says. It's like, what the hell, I went and did my best and it was fun for a while. And it's not really slapping him on the wrist for doing what he did. Like he still appreciates the invigoration of the past few months, and he appreciates what he did and tried to do. And the film doesn't really reprimand him for that, aside from Santa Claus being kind of upset.
And rightfully so.
And rightfully so. But it really feels more like it's him saying, go out and try new things. There can be consequences. But at the end of the day, what you have can be good enough.
I don't know if you ever heard if you ever listened to the soundtrack, but the very last song on it is actually sort of a epilogue done by Santa about how he visits Jack like years later, and he has like a family with Sally and everything, and then Santa poses the hypothetical question like, "Hey, if you knew that all this was gonna happen, would you go back and do it all over again, even if you caused all this chaos and mayhem and everything?" And like Jack thinks for a moment, he's like, "Well, wouldn't you do the same thing?" So so I'm like, wow, he hasn't learned anything.
But then again, I like that he sticks by his convictions.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of has to. I love how he kind of has to rationalize to himself. It's like, yeah, I did a horrible thing, and I almost ruined people's Christmases, and I almost got Santa Claus killed, and my future wife killed, and everything. But hey, at least I had fun.
And if they did die, I mean, Santa would just, come to Halloween Town.
Oh, God.
A zombie Santa.
Zombie Santa.
Ho, ho, ho.
Then it truly would be Halloween twice a year.
I think also the characters of this film, even more so than the story, because the story and setting is a little bit different, but the characters are also some things that we haven't really seen until that point in time, I think, because you have a lot of characters who are very introspective and very complex. I mean, Jack in general is a complex character, but there's also Sally, who's basically a character who's trapped in a world that, she was created by an evil scientist, and she wants to get away, but she can't. until at the end of the film, he lets her go, and Jack takes over as her protector, as it will. You have these whole host of creepy, complex characters, and not everyone is very. Not everyone is really a nice person. In fact, I would wager to say that many of these characters are complete assholes, and yet they're still presented to us in a very good light.
I wouldn't say they're assholes, nor would I really call them complex, to be quite honest. Like, if you're talking about like the people of Halloween Town, I mean, they are basically what you think they are. And honestly, the thing is like they're basically how monsters who constantly celebrate Halloween should be, in that they understand what a good scare is. Because for people who love like Halloween, like the biggest thrill is being scared, because it's like they said, life's no fun without a good scare. And that's the thing I like, is that everyone in Halloween Town, except for Oogie, understands that. They understand that that's fun, and so, of course, they're always lighthearted about it, and they never really go too far. And even when they do go too far, it's usually because of their own naivete, because that's all they know, and it's normal to them, whereas it might be too scary, or, even like, insanely scary to like to other people. But I think for the most part that they're relatively harmless. Although
Well,
I was questioning like how at one point early on in the film, when the vampires won a trophy for the most blood drained, I'm like, okay, so they actually go out and drink people's blood on Halloween, and that's actually a competition for them.
But this kind of leads into Jack's character, in which, like, yeah, I mean, yeah, he kind of screwed up Christmas, but he didn't know how far he was going. It's like you were saying, like, how, like, like everybody in Halloween Town, it's all about scaring them, not going too far. But if they go too far, it's from their own naivete. And the same thing with Jack, with him taking over Christmas, in which he just saw it as just something to try something new. But at the same time, he's still kind of using the old things of what he's been used to in Halloween Town, and which he uses and incorporates into his Christmas, and him being Santa Claus, into giving the kids the shrunken head, or the wreath that comes down and tries to strangle Grandma, or even the I have to say this, the mock Mickey and the mock Donald Duck that's like tries to go after them with the sharp teeth and stuff. I know, Kat, you know what you're talking about. What I'm talking about, because
the hidden Mickey,
you pointed
the
that
hidden
out.
Donald.
Yes.
I do see where you're coming from there, and I can kind of agree. But then you have characters like Lock, Shock, and Barrel, who know full well what they're doing is wrong.
Oh, they're just
and yet
complete
they
assholes.
do it anyway. Yeah, those are complete assholes. And then there's the mad scientist, who is also a complete asshole.
But he's more of a control freak.
Yeah, here's the thing with Dr. Finkelstein. Like, I really...
Is it Finkelstein or Beetlestein?
I think it's.
I thought it was Beetlestein.
I think it's Finkelstein. I think it's Finkelstein. Here's the thing with the scientists. Like, I always had this inkling that there was a darker undertone to him, because it always seemed weird to me that he created Sally, and he's like determined to keep her under like lock and key, but like the most he has her do is basically cook food for him. And I'm thinking, okay, she's his assistant, but she doesn't help out with his science. Oh, wait, he already has an assistant for science, so what could she possibly be there for? Oh. And actually, there...
Yeah.
And honestly, it's actually made worse by this alternate ending that the film was supposed to have. It was never animated, they cut it before then, but there was a twist ending where when Oogie is defeated at the end, it's revealed that it's actually Dr. Finkelstein, like in disguise, and the whole reason he did it was because he wanted to kidnap Sally and teach her a lesson, because apparently he was jealous that she kept leaving him to go chase after Jack, who was basically unaware of her existence. So
I'm not sure how I feel about that alternate ending. I think Oogie Boogie works as a character in his own right.
oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Although I still don't get how his bugs work.
Yeah, I don't understand how he works exactly, but he's still really cool looking, and his voice is awesome.
I mean, Oogie in general is just a fantastic character. Like he does what he does because it's fun to him, and he's not very complex as a villain, but he just likes he likes the roll of he likes the roll of the dice. He likes chance. He likes contraptions and like really evil things. And I like how they foreshadow him in the opening song where he's the shadow on the moonlit night. Like he's in the moon, and I think that's really well done.
Definitely. He actually kind of reminds me of Ratigan from The Great Mouse Detective a bit, in that, he's not evil because of some tragic backstory or because of his lust for power or anything. He's evil just because he thinks it's fun, and that's what makes him fun. And like, granted, that kind of makes him an asshole, a murderous, cannibalistic asshole, but still a fun asshole.
He's an asshole, but he's a fun asshole.
Yeah, like I remember in the video games they flesh him out a little bit more, although that's kind of that's kind of a poor choice of words. But more like he gets more to do, because I remember seeing in the special features, they said that Oogie was actually the hardest character to animate because of how bulky he was, not to mention all the bugs and shit that keeps going in and out of his sack. So yeah, of course they actually did not use him as much as they would have. But when you see him in like the video games, it's like it's fun because he gets to do so much more. You just see him when he goes into like his final form in Oogie's Revenge. It's so gross, but it's so cool. But yeah, as you were saying,
I like what they do with him in Kingdom Hearts and the whole battle of like you have the different like rolls of the dice and you have to avoid like some of the stuff on his roulette wheel, and then you get a chance to attack him, and then he turns into a giant house. Like that was always really awesome.
Yeah, that part is cool. Actually, I like him. I like him in Kingdom Hearts 1. I don't like him in Kingdom Hearts 2 though.
Well, yeah, because he lost his memory, and there's no reason for him to be there. Like, the whole reason I think they should have just gone into something different in another town. Why bring Oogie back?
I also love how in absolutely no incarnation of Nightmare, whether it's the movies or the video games, does Lock, Shock, and Barrel ever get punished for constantly trying to help Oogie. Like, nobody ever reprimands them. Like, the most that happens is you get to beat them up in Oogie's Revenge, but even then, it's, like, nothing. Like, it's not like Jack throws them down a pit or into, like, a cell or something at the end to be like, think about what you did. It's like, no, they just get off scot-free because they're kids. Yeah. That part always annoyed me.
But Oogie as a villain is one of those things where sometimes you just need a villain who just is evil just because he likes it. He's not complex. He's not like super interesting in the way that Frollo is, but at the same time, he's like Lady Tremaine. He loves being evil, and he's just so good at it, and he's fun to watch.
Yeah, plus he has the villain flair. I love villains who have the villain flair. They have that look, they have that charisma. It's like you look at him, you'd be like, okay, this is gonna be one badass motherfucker. Like, definitely. Jack kind of has that too. It's like Jack himself, it really is kind of a moron as a character, but he has such presentation and flair, especially like his introduction at the beginning during the Halloween song. It's like you gotta love him, you gotta root for him. I just love that this film gives such presentation to its hero and villain.
uh, Jack just has such charm to him. I mean, like, he just does all these things just because he thinks they're going to be fun. We first see him where he lights himself on fire and douses it out in, like, acid. Um,
That's so
it,
fucking badass.
it's one of those things where you know what he's doing is wrong, but at the same time you can't fault him because you can clearly see the reasoning going on in his head, and he has such charm to him when he's going for these ideas, especially all the little touches they put in, like the blackboard where he's wondering, like, chestnuts divided by a roasted fire, like, like all these little equations and stuff that you don't see. They do a lot with his character, and I think, I know you might not think he's very complex, but I do think a lot of the ideas going on behind him about his kind of, it's almost like a depression for him in a way where he just doesn't get the same joy out of his work.
He basically
And I
has a
think
midlife crisis, and he buys a Porsche in the form of Santa's sled. That's kind of what it feels like to me. I mean, no, I get what you're saying. Like, no, I understand his rationale. I understand growing bored and then trying something completely new. It's just the way he goes about it, though. It's like, it'd be one thing if he tried to have his own Christmas, but the fact that he has to take over the actual Christmas and kidnap Santa Claus and entrust him with these clearly evil children who they will take down to their clearly evil boss, like, that kind of goes beyond the point of being naively stupid to me.
Yeah, but then again, this is Halloween, and I mean, they did bring the Easter Bunny back, so I mean, it's not like
We
he.
hope. We never know for sure if they did, and they were gone for a month. Who the hell knows what happens in that time?
Oh boy, that poor Easter Bunny. All
But
right.
it does make you think, and I remember Kat, when you and I were watching it, we thought about the possibility of a sequel where they go to like where one of the other holiday worlds comes in, like somebody like Thanksgiving comes in and like
Yeah.
tries to take over Halloween or Christmas because they keep getting overshadowed by
Yeah,
the other two holidays.
no, I would love to see that sequel where like the leader of Turkey Town is sick and tired of being overshadowed by Halloween and Christmas, so he gets like this army of killer turkeys to go out and take over both towns. It'd be like
I
that
would love
episode
that.
it'd be like that episode of South Park, but like more metal. I would love that. Actually, speaking of like other holiday spoofs and stuff, I've been looking up because of course everyone has to spoof that idea of Jack visiting the other holidays and stuff. I remember seeing a clip. I remember seeing a clip of from College Humor where he stumbles into St. Patrick's Day town, and and of course he gets drunk. That was a nice rendition of what's this? What's this? There's liquid everywhere. I've seen two spoofs where he visits Hanukkah Town. Of course,
Oh
they're very
boy.
brief and thankfully not that offensive. And then I saw the one that Family Guy did where he takes over 4th of July. That one was actually kind of cool. That I actually think that was Family Guy's like best animation, what they did with that, and it's actually kind of funny because you see them having a barbecue and like barbecuing like severed heads, and I kind of like that idea. A 4th of July Halloween, make it happen.
I'm actually rather surprised that of all the Disney sequels, of all the films that, the franchises that could be made, this film does not have a sequel. I mean,
Well,
I guess.
in truth, Tim
Let me-
Burton said he never planned to make one, and he kind of doesn't want to taint, the originality of the first movie with a sequel. Plus, you know how Disney is with their sequels. Granted, they've gotten better over the years, but I kind of think it's better that it was left alone, personally. maybe in the future when it's not done by Disney.
Mm-hmm.
That's just my opinion.
Agreed. I mean, we have seen some bad Disney sequels on the show. It's just a shame because, like, I know it. I know there's a few reasons why it hasn't happened. Tim Burton doesn't want it. It takes a lot of money to make the animation in general, a lot of time. But if we can have, two sequels to Cinderella and a sequel to Bambi, I mean,
Yeah,
I
like
don't know.
the potential is there. It's just it has to be in the right hands and has to have the right script. Because it, as easily as it is to like come up with numerous ideas, they could easily mess it up too. And they could kind of make it like Oogie's Revenge, where they end up rehashing the same exact plot. That always kind of annoyed me about the game. They even do that in Kingdom Hearts too, with the second one. Because it's like, Jack, you're taking over Christmas Town again? Really? It's like, come on, man. There's more than one holiday.
And I think that's why we don't get like a proper Nightmare Before Christmas sequels, because Disney just incorporates that property into other forms. Mostly we've seen it in video game form, but they don't really need to do a sequel per se. I mean, if Tim Burton doesn't want to. I mean, the only other stop motion thing that Tim Burton did, and that was years later, and that was Corpse Bride. But that wasn't through Disney though. That was different.
Mm-hmm. And not as good.
No,
It
was short.
It was shorter. I liked it,
Yeah.
but it's definitely not the same type of thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's good for what it was, but like, I really don't think anything can live up to Nightmare, like, at least in terms of, style and, and likability.
Charm.
Yeah, charm.
Yeah, like Nightmare just has so many creative ideas. Just the people, just like the residents in the town are also very different, and the more you look at them, the more like you have this character who has like a mouth that's only connected by like a small thing of skin, and it just pops up and down. You have a clown that just removes its face for some reason. You have this character that's always melting, and they actually heated this model up so that it looked like it was realistically melting.
Meltman with the power to melt.
They put a lot of creative effort in this, and the animation, like the stop motion animation, is just, I cannot give them enough credit for what they were able to do with this. Again, the work that went into it, like just look at all the various heads that they made for Jack and all the various poses, because this is stop motion animation is incredibly hard. It takes a lot of time just to move it one frame, one by one by one. It's not easy, and I've actually done something kind of similar to it, with not the same type of animation, but like it's very, very hard, and it takes a lot of time just to produce 10 seconds of worthwhile animation.
Yeah, I would not have the patience for that. Like, I know some kids when they were younger would like do their own little stop motion thing, but I just no. I do. My attention span would not allow me to do that. I would probably get as far as 3 seconds and be like, "Fuck this, I'm out."
Another thing that really works about this is the music. I think we all know how amazing these songs are.
Hell yeah.
This is Halloween, Making Christmas, Kidnap the Santa Claus. These songs are certified classics, and the more and more I hear of them, they're fantastic. Especially because Danny Elfman as the singing voice and regular voice of Jack Skellington. I didn't know he had such a fantastic singing voice.
Well, I think he was in that band Oingo Boingo, so he definitely has. He definitely has a the experience to back it up.
What is your favorite song, Eric?
You have to ask the guy who's the sucker for musicals this question.
Yeah.
Favorite one? I'm trying to think.
And least favorite.
My least favorite. Let's see. My least favorite is probably. I hate to say it, the one that Sally sings. Maybe it's. I mean, I like it now. I mean, I like it better now, but like, it's one of those that doesn't like. It's one of those few songs that just doesn't stick out as much. I mean, it's not a bad. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but
It doesn't mesh with the rest of the movie. Like everything else has an obvious Halloween or Christmas theme to it, and hers is just a simple, I guess heartbroken thing. Like anybody could sing it.
it's
It
one of those
doesn't.
it's one of those character development songs where like you need some. It's a song that in a lot of musicals where where they sing about like what's on the character's mind and how it relates to the story. It's a classic musical trope that's been used in pretty much every single musical. So it's kind of one of those songs that's kind of necessary, but as far as music goes and how people remember it and how people will remember it, it just kind of it's just there.
It doesn't have the same energy as the other songs.
Yeah, like I liked it when I was younger because I could identify with the song. Someone who's always admired or had a crush on someone from afar, but they'd never notice me. Like could sympathize with the song in that regard. But now that I'm older and married, and I can probably get any guy I want now because guys dig married women. So I don't I don't really I don't really care for that song as much as I used to. Definitely the other, but the rest kind of sticks out to me a lot more.
Yeah, definitely Sally's song for me is probably the weakest. I can say my favorite is "Kidnap the Santa Claus," especially because of how dark it gets. Like you're listening to it and they say "Kidnap the Santa Claus," chop him into bits. And I'm just like, this is a Disney film.
I know, right? The best part is they don't do any of what they said they were gonna do in the song.
Yeah, nothing.
Really.
Nothing that they say is actually either going to help them kidnap him, or they don't actually do it. A lot of what they say is after they kidnap the Santa Claus, and that's what they're going to do. But it's just like, here, I have a better plan. Let's to help kidnap the Lobster Man, and it's something that won't
Let's
help
pop
them
him in a
kidnap
boiling
him.
pot, and when he's done, we'll butter him up.
Exactly, that's not going to help you kidnap him.
Actually, I just had a dark thought. What if they actually did use those methods, but they used them on the Easter Bunny?
Oh God.
Oh. But then again, the Easter Bunny is alive when they kidnap it, so how can
Yeah,
they...
he's alive then. Remember, we don't ever see them actually take the bunny back. He's just gone by the time they get to Christmas Town.
Maybe they ate him. As a snack.
Poor
Who
bunny.
cares
Little
about
Hassenpfeffer.
Easter anyway?
I will say I like Korn's rendition of "Kidnap the Sandy Claus."
Yes.
And I do like how they actually stay loyal to the lyrics, because I know some bands, they like to either twist some of the lyrics around or write completely new lyrics, but they actually stay loyal to the song and just make it as hardcore metal as they possibly can.
I love the tone that they have in that song. It's just they keep going and going, and they just have he's basically arguing with himself the whole time, but it's just it's so dark and grungy, and I love it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm almost picturing Gollum doing that if he had a metal band. He's like, no, we're gonna do this. No, we're gonna do this. We're gonna do this.
Wait, I have a better plan.
Yeah, and
So
did you say what your favorite was, Eric? You just said what you
No, I
didn't like.
haven't. No, I haven't. I just mentioned my least favorite.
Okay.
My favorite is actually... I think it's actually What's This, believe it or not. Because I like the pace. I like the pacing of it. I like how he just how he goes through all the different stuff. The what's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. What's this? There's white things in the air. What's this? And so he just keeps going on and on and on and on about all the things that he is seeing, and just I just like that, and it's really, and I just thought it was really good.
Although
I
it
just
is
remember-
kind of silly, and Kat pointed this out to me, how he knows what snowballs are if he doesn't know what snow is.
That's the thing, though. Tim Burton actually helped Danny Elfman write these songs before they even had a script to the movie. So I guess just either out of respect for Tim or just because they couldn't think of anything better, they just kept in the lyrics even if they didn't make sense.
And to be fair, they're still supremely catchy, so
Oh, yeah,
I mean
definitely.
it's a very minor point.
Yeah. The thing I like about that song is how easy you can make a parody out of it. Like I said, the whole college humor one with the St. Patrick's Day, like if you listen to it, it's like yeah, I can imagine somebody coming up with this spur of the moment during St. Patty's Day. And honestly, you could probably do that with like any holiday if you really thought about it.
Mm.
Well, my least favorite, like I said, it kind of is Sally's song now that now that I'm older. When I was younger though, I actually I didn't really like What's This. I don't know why, like it just for me it was too cheery. Like I like the dark somberness of the other songs, and then you have What's This? What's This? And it's like it reminded me of Christmas, and I'll be honest, Christmas really isn't one of my favorite holidays, if you couldn't tell. So, yeah, I mean, I don't hate the song, but I would more often skip it whenever listening to the soundtrack.
Mm.
But as for favorites, it's a tie.
It's a tie.
Yeah, I tried to like rationalize it, but I just can't. I love both This Is Halloween and Oogie Boogie song too much to like really put one above the other.
Oogie Boogie song is just so much fun,
It's a
especially
villain
like
song. How could you hate a villain song? Well, unless
and
it's
I know.
poorly written.
the background singers are bugs. I love it.
And skeletons and bats and all that other cool stuff. Yeah, but it's like, and here's the thing, like I know some people have covered it, but I honestly like the original done by Ken Page. Like his voice is just so great. He just has like that jazzy baritone. I love it. I absolutely adore voices that have that cool baritone sound to it. And of course, This Is Halloween. How could you beat it? Both it's awesome, both lyrical and visual wise. It's the thing that opens up the film, and that's what draws you in. It's just awesome.
And it introduces all the different types of monsters, and like they're all so very creative, like I said before. But when you see the lyrics, and it's just like I'm the thing that's under your stairs, like spider hairs, and like the fingers are like snakes and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just like the writing is top notch in that song, and the visuals match it completely, and it just works so well together.
Definitely. And I will say I've heard plenty of covers of it. My three favorite that I definitely recommend, of course, the Marilyn Manson version. You have to listen to that. There's a version by Jonathan Young. He does heavy metal versions of Disney songs. And then there's a version that Pellick did. He's a Swedish guy who's also done covers of both Disney, anime, a whole bunch of songs, and also has a metal overtone. I like metal music. Can you tell?
I can also vouch for Pellick. Pellick has done some amazing work, and his vocal range is very, very good. So check out his cover, because I have heard that, and it's wonderful.
Yeah, so yeah, those are my two favorites, and I guess my second favorite would probably be Poor Jack. Like it starts off depressing, but then like he kind of lifts himself back up, and you can't help but just be lifted up with him. He's like, yeah, I fucked up, but I fucked up royally, and I'm awesome for it. And I also
Wait, I am the nostalgia critic.
I love how he parodied that. That was so great. I squeezed so hard when he did that.
I remember watching that, and I'm just like, I'm just like, and then he starts singing like something great. Why doesn't ever turn out like it should? And I'm just like, yep, here we go.
And of course he just rips off his shirt and he has his clothes back on. I always find that funny. Like,
Santa
well,
Claus.
it's like, well, thank God he had that underneath.
So we've been talking for quite a while about The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Well, of course.
Obviously, we love it. Despite some problems here or there, like there are a couple plot holes or a couple things that don't gel, but I think there's a certain passion that bleeds through this film that makes it impossible to really find too much fault in, because you can clearly see that the people who worked on this film wanted it to succeed. It was never a cynical thing. It was never about money. It was all about creating a project that they really believed in. And I think that bleeds throughout the film. Would you guys agree with that?
Oh, definitely. Like, this
Yeah,
is
definitely.
this is totally a labor of love. Like, I know people have, made the joke that, oh, it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, but he barely did anything with it. It's like, it was still his idea. He still, had the idea for the characters, and he came up with helped come up with the music and everything. It's still his creation, and it's an awesome creation. So, yeah, I definitely, you could definitely tell a lot of passion went into this, and it definitely shows.
I mean, he got the idea for The Nightmare Before Christmas when he started seeing Christmas decorations one year, right before Halloween in the middle of October. And that inspired him to write the poem that was Nightmare Before Christmas and all the stuff that came with it. So if it weren't for the retailers who obnoxiously put their Christmas stuff up before Halloween,
Bastards.
we wouldn't have this beloved Disney classic.
Although, now that you mention it, I have a feeling we're going to see something similar with Christmas and St. Patty's Day, because I was actually in the store the other day, and yeah, they were in the middle of taking down half their Christmas stuff, and they put St. Patty's stuff up. So I'm like, is
Still
this...
another few months yet.
So now we're just going to have a movie about people drinking on Christmas.
Santa's going to be like,
People do that already.
Santa's going to be like, I'm sick of Christmas. I'm going to take over a holiday where I do nothing but drink. Drunk Santa away!
But people drink on Christmas already.
We'll
Yeah,
drink
but now-
more.
Yeah, but at least you don't have to give out presents on St. Patty's Day.
No. I mean, you could, but...
So,
In the form of beer.
so that's Nightmare Before Christmas. It's a film that a lot of us just really, really enjoy, and I think it means a lot to a lot of different people. With that being said, I think in the spirit of both holidays, happy Halloween, Merry Christmas. A lot of things have happened this year that, many people have suffered and many people have struggled through 2016. But we wanted to all wish you just a happy holidays, and as dreary as it has been, there's always something out there that can maybe perk you up a little bit. Put on a film, put on The Nightmare Before Christmas, and just cheer yourself up a little bit, because it may be bad now, but next year is a whole nother ball game.
Oh, yeah. It's like, there's only one way to go, and that's up.
But also, thank you so much for watching us for the past few years. It's been a ride. It's been a roller coaster of many different things happening, but we're all here, and we've gotten this far. It's almost 50 episodes, and that is kind of a big feat for us. So for all the people who have stuck by us, for Nicole Spadero, for Ned Riley, who has been a huge help with a lot of things. For everyone who has stuck by us and who watches and comments and interacts with us, you have turned this into something. I mean, you brought this back. If not for your interest in the show, due to all the problems that we've had, just trying to keep it afloat, with Blip and YouTube and whatnot, I don't think it would have happened if not for you guys. So thank you for your continued interest, and we're going to continue to move forward and do more with this.
And boy, do we have some plans, and do we have some big ones to tackle.
Some theme months you guys have been talking about and bombarding the comments with, and I'm actually interested in a few of these theme months.
We're gonna have to watch so much stuff. So
Indeed.
much stuff.
But thank you guys. Next time is not going to be another traditional episode. We're going to be doing our year-end review of all the films that came out this year in 2016. And after that, I believe it's going to be me and Eric with Tonka. Joy.
Oh dear.
Happy, joy. Have fun, guys.
Another frontier movie.
Don't worry, you're almost done.
But we're rambling on now. Just thanks again. I'm Zenith Rule.
I'm Kat Macberrie.
I'm Y2 Staller.
And from all of us to you, happy holidays and a Merry Christmahana Kwanzaa Ween.
And a Festivus for the rest of yous.
Anyway, see you guys later.
TTFN, ta-ta for now.
Thank you for watching The Media Meltdown. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more awesome videos. And if you like what you see, show your support on the Patreon page at patreon.com/Media Meltdown. See you all next time on The Media Meltdown.